Well, I guess the story is, out of nowhere, I don't know where this came from, a clip was
apropos of nothing.
A clip was posted of Vader working with an underneath guy on WCW TV years ago. Vader had the guy.
It was WWF, I think, TV.
Oh, was it? See, I didn't even watch the clip. I just saw the photo.
Well, yes, it was WWF TV.
Well, it was Vader throwing those shots he would throw in the corner. And at that point, a wrestler some of you may have heard of, Little Joey Ryan, had some thoughts about all this.
I wasn't going to mention his name. I was just going to say Dick Boy, because we don't want him to get any attention. You might have to edit that out. But the point is, Dick Boy's tweet, and I don't have it in front of me. I'm not going to quote it verbatim, but it's the same old shit that comes out of his mouth every time he wants some attention from these people that like this kind of thing. Well, I'm just so glad that wrestling has evolved from the barbaric days where that bully culture in wrestling allowed things like this to go on. I'd much rather, because the controversy was that, like we said last week here on the program, old Kenny Olivier over there on the other channel had a match with a job guy, and the guy was kicking out of shit, and he was doing shit that was over and above the level of what a guy presented like that in that environment should have been doing with the alleged world's greatest wrestling fucking artist, right? And, of course, Uncle Dave came to Olivier's defense. Well, things have changed. Say that about Ric Flair and George South. Well, it was Ric Flair with George South, and Flair was already over. Flair just didn't do it with every goddamn job guy he got in a ring with just to prove he could. Just some fucking buggy whip armed fucking sway back fucking mare. He didn't do it with everybody. He did it with the guys that he liked that actually could really work. And it still was wrong, but not as wrong. But nevertheless, Dick Boy, his take on it is, well, it's better that Olivier do that than this barbaric display, the bully culture, where you'd have to put up with it, or you'd lose your job, you'd be blackballed or blacklisted. And he put up the clip of Leon in the corner, and the guy in the corner was Tim McNeely, as we'll find out here in a minute. And it was Vader being Vader, doing Vader shit, right? And so I saw this when I first got up on whatever day that was, Monday or Tuesday. I said, hey, morning thoughts on Dick Boy. Any grown man who uses the phrase bully culture is a pussy. Secondly, you better be glad wrestling has changed, or elsewise you wouldn't be allowed in it. Thirdly, what was third? There's evolving and there's devolving. And fourth, what the fuck is the matter with you, you insufferable, whiny little douchebag? And everybody, and I mean, it was pretty fucking brutal. It not only jumps on Dick Boy on Twitter because he is, uses his little pee-pee in his matches and he's a joke and nobody likes him anyway, but also because he's knocking Vader for fucking a dead guy who can't defend himself for being a bully in some respect in this clip, and this guy's job hanging in the balance if he didn't take it. And so since Dick Boy got all fucking slapped down by everybody, which is his normal fucking pattern, he pokes his head up once in a while, people slap him in the face, and he jumps back in his fucking hole. But then he takes all day to come up with a response to me. Well, how am I going to get myself out of this hole? I'll do it. CTE. So he said, well, Jim, I know we'll never see wrestling eye to eye, but I can't believe that you'd pick this hill to die on with what we now know about CTE and brain injuries. And then guess who tweeted him back? Tim McNeely. The guy in the fucking clip. So what the fuck's the matter with you? He wasn't being stiff with me. Leon was never stiff. He was excitable, but he wasn't stiff with me. It was fine. I wasn't hurt. The guy that is in the clip that Dick Boy sends out as an example of Vader being a bully and giving people brain damage, them not being able to do anything about it because of the bully culture in wrestling, said, what the fuck, you Mark? It was a work. He didn't hurt me.
He is so stupid. every time he tweets something out, he's the stupidest guy in the wrestling business.
Well, what it is he is like somebody that we just spoke about, and depending on what platform you're listening to this audio, you might not have heard it because it might have been too controversial for some places, and they take it out. But when you have someone who has recognized a group of stupid, gullible people, and you know what to say to appeal to those stupid, gullible people, then that's what you get. And whether it's the same people that all of the CTE with what we know and the bully culture, the same people about the bully culture also all over the all-inclusive culture that, oh, it's for everybody and everybody gets to play and everybody gets to wrestle and everybody gets to be free. And it's ridiculous not to think that they shouldn't. And the cosplay wrestling fans and the mud show aficionados hang on Dick Boy's words because he's a darling. He's the kind of guy who basically couldn't ever have done this at any level of success unless he's allowed to do stupid, preposterous shit that makes him the object of ridicule and some people laugh with instead of at. And he's allowed to do that now, which is why I crusade against it. He's identified that people that will go along with his silliness are people who are easily offended, get offended a lot, have all these fucking words and phrases for all this terrible behavior that people undergo, and so he sucks up to them. He doesn't really mean any of this shit. He's working the fucking guy they're all mad at, me. I'm the only one telling you the fucking truth. I don't like you, and I don't give a shit whether you like me. There's the fucking truth. This guy sucks up to people so they'll buy his fucking used lollipops. He pulls out of his fucking ass in his matches and sticks them in people's mouths. And here's another thing. Is it more of a bully culture that Leon or any other big monster of his day would go out and get over by working stiff but hopefully safely, although shit happens, stiff but safely with guys and manhandle them and try to make it look real so at least they weren't part of a goddamn joke and they really got their ass kicked by this beast? Is that a bully culture, or is it a bully culture to say, hey, since Dick Boy runs all the dive bar shows there in California and he's in with the rest of the California fucking clique there, hey, if you want to get a job on my wrestling show here at this cheap bar, you're trying to make a name for yourself as a wrestler, you need all the bookings you can get, you got to grab my cock. And then you got to fling yourself all the way across the ring, or you've got to fucking open your mouth and let me stick a lollipop in it that I've just pulled out of my fucking crotch, or you can't get booked. Isn't that bullying? Or actually it's just fucking being a dick. Just a dick.
You know, it's funny. Someone did say something to me the other day. I won't say who, but someone in the wrestling business said that these Southern California guys, and the examples that were cited to me were Joey Ryan and the Young Bucks and a few other people. He said they're like the Clique, except minus the drugs and the alcohol. But they have no problem burying guys and holding guys back and screwing guys over. But, you know, they're not going to eat a bunch of pills while doing it.
Well, that's admirable of them. And as far as, and just because I know Dick Boy doesn't know how to work with a job guy because he's only been the job guy in that equation, but he doesn't know how a star works with a job guy. And neither does Uncle Dave, because Uncle Dave has never been in the ring. And, of course, his partner has been in the ring. His partner dwarfs Marco Stunt, but he's only been in the ring on independent events. So let me just smarten you up real quickly. Working competitively with a job guy when you're a main event guy can be done in a short fashion, in a short period of time, to show the guy's not a complete schlub, to give him some kind of life, but the emphasis needs to be on you. If one of the first matches, if not the first, matches that the Midnight Express worked on Mid-South Television for Bill Watts when we were brought in to be the top heel team, Mike Jackson was one of the opponents. I don't remember if it's the first match or just at the first taping, as we taped 2 or 3 matches. And so Mike and Bobby Eaton did a spot. I can't remember what it was, but Mike was hitting the ropes, and I think fucking got a goddamn leapfrog in, or may have arm dragged Bobby or did a drop kick or whatever, and then they cut him off. Because he could do shit and he was made somewhat credible, but these other guys are just better. And then they won in dominant fashion. Another one of the opponents that we had at our first taping was Lanny Poffo. And of course, since Lanny was, back then he hadn't had the WWF run, but he was an experienced pro. So he got some shit in. He leapfrogged and drop kicked and did something, and then they cut him off. And it might have beat the other guy, or a couple times we beat Lanny. It was a small territory. But the point is, just because Lanny Poffo was able to do things, or Mike Jackson was able to do things, if Bobby Eaton or Dennis Condrey had gone out there and fucking Bobby had shot Lanny into the corner and charged in, and Lanny had put his feet up and fucking booted Bobby, and Bobby had gone down, and Lanny had jumped up and done a moonsault off the top, boom, 1-2, and Bobby had kicked out, and Lanny had arm dragged him and hip tossed him and body slammed him and grabbed his arm and controlled him and tagged his partner. When we got back, Bill Watts would have fired all of us, every single last one, including the referee, because that's not what he wanted, regardless whether it could be executed properly or not. So there's ways you can work with a job guy, and they don't include hitting them with 2 or 3 high-impact moves and them either kicking out, or in some cases, you're picking them up to giving them another move, which we'll talk about on AEW here in a second. But one of the guys fucking caught one of their goddamn, child wrestlers with a big fucking move off the top and planted him where it looked like he should have been paralyzed, and carted out on a stretcher and then picked him up so he could hit his finish on him. Fucking hell. But anyway, it can be done. You can give the guy something, but you can still, Lawler was a master at it. A lot of the top guys were masters at it. The guys that had to go out in their home territories on their TVs and do 8 or 10 minutes with underneath or middle card or preliminary or job guys just to get exposure on their television. They were also the bookers, so they would have a good basic match. They'd give the guy a little bit. They'd stay in control most of the time, but just the way it worked out, they didn't have to hit any of their big moves until the end. Maybe if the guy fired up, then they'd shut him down and be mad enough to put him away. It can be done. But Kenny Olivier don't know how to do it. And what Vader was doing was getting Vader over. And yes, I'm not saying he never threw a potato. And you could tell also with Yokozuna on some of those bonsai drops, whether it was all Yoko going to get over and fuck this guy's fucking chest, or I'm going to take care of this guy because he's nice to me or whatever. But for fuck's sake, as part of fucking wrestling, just because some fucking penis performer that couldn't even have done this 15 years ago at any level and been a success in any way is allowed to hoke it up and do some vaudeville bullshit and gets his pussy powdered and or needs to get his pussy powdered whenever he gets offended by some fucking fictitious thing that he's made up. Just face it. Dick boy, you weren't man enough to be in this business when the men were in the business. You're man enough to be in the business full of boys, which is why you keep to the same social circle.
Yes. Have fun and impact.
Oh, for fuck's sake. Make an impact and impact.